In public now, and we are on committee business. I do have a list. I've got Matt Green, Michael Barrett, and Iqra Khalid. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to start with Mr. Green. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I do appreciate the opportunity to table the motion that I provided on notice yesterday that in relation to media reports that privacy breaches of more than 31,000 accounts at the Canada Revenue Agency has gone unreported and resulted in the loss of millions of dollars, that the committee commence a study of at least 2 meetings and invite to appear the Minister of National Revenue, Marie-Claude Bibeau, the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, Mr. Philippe Dufresne, and representatives from H&R Block, and that the committee report its findings to the House.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Green. The motion was put on notice, and we are in committee business, so the motion is in order. Go ahead, Ms. Khalid, on the motion, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Firstly, I'd like to thank Mr. Green for bringing forward this very important issue. I think it is absolutely in the right of the Ethics Committee to be delving into issues such as this, and they mean a lot in maintaining the public trust within our agencies and within our democratic institutions. I do have a couple of amendments to make to this motion, with hopefully the unanimous consent, possibly, or the will of the committee. First and foremost, I will ask that we restrict the timeline of which we are going to study. So where it says that in relation to media reports that privacy breaches of more than 31,000 accounts were reported at the Canada Revenue Agency, I would like to add between 2020 and 2023, just to contextualize what exactly it is that we're talking about. And then I would also propose that we delete right after that, have gone unreported and resulted the loss of millions of dollars, because I think that that is something that would be in the report or in what comes after, or based on what we hear from witnesses. I don't think we should preempt any of the testimony. And then I would like to also add a couple of witnesses to this. In addition to the Minister of National Revenue, Marie-Claude Bibeau, I think that we should also add the Commissioner, Bob Hamilton, and representatives from the Canada Revenue Agency to come and talk about this, because oftentimes, you know, the way that that things are structured, I think that this is not just a ministerial problem or issue that that needs to be resolved. I think this is also an agency issue that they need to come and speak to as well. I have copies of my amended motion that I can circulate to you, Chair, if that's okay, for members to look at while we discuss this, if that's okay, Chair.
Okay. I will need an electronic copy for Monsieur Villemure, and I see you're on the list. I just want to, there's one bit of confusion that I had, and hopefully this will clear it up. So we're reported at the Canada Revenue Agency between 2020 and 2023. So that puts a timeline on the study to between those 3 years. 4 years effectively, and that the...
I'm sorry, I have trouble hearing you because there's a lot of chitter-chatter.
Okay. All right, just... what? And we've got the translation looking for a copy of the amendment, okay? So let's just let's keep the chatter down while we discuss this. Okay, so between 2020 and 2023, which is effectively a 4-year timeline, and then right, and then you're looking to strike, and your amendment have gone unreported and resulted in the loss of millions of dollars. So you're looking to strike that part.
Yes, sir.
And then you're adding a couple of witnesses that includes Commissioner Bob Hamilton and representatives from the Canada Revenue Agency, and I suspect that you'll leave that to us to determine
Indeed.
through the analysts of who those representatives are. Okay, so that clarifies that. We're on the amendment proposed. Est-ce que Monsieur Villemure...
Monsieur Villemure, has Monsieur Villemure received a copy? Do we have a copy for Monsieur Villemure? An electronic copy? Mr. Villemure, I will read the amendment proposed by Ms. Khalid shortly. It states that in relation to the media reports that privacy breaches of more than 31,000 accounts were reported at the Canada Revenue Agency between, so this is one of the amendments here, between 2020 and 2023, the committee commenced a study of at least 2 meetings and invite to appear the Minister of National Revenue, Marie-Claude Bibeau, the Commissioner, Bob Hamilton, and representatives from the Canada Revenue Agency. That is another one of the amendments. There are 3 amendments to the motion that were proposed by Ms. Khalid, and we will be emailing the amendment to you. Mr. Green?
On the amendments as proposed by Ms. Khalid. Go ahead, sir.
I just, one of the things that occurred to me was that we still don't quite know about the extent of the payouts. So the one thing I would ask for consideration is we say since 2020, because there's a very real likelihood that breaches that might have happened in 2023 could have resulted in fraudulent payouts in 2024. So it's not material. We just want to go for the entirety of, yeah. I don't want to cut this year out, because if there's material impacts, then
I don't see that as being an unreasonable demand, but I'll go to Ms. Khalid at this point. Go ahead, Ms. Khalid.
Thanks, Chair. So that is what my understanding is. But based on the article, we're talking about 31,000 accounts reported between these years. What happened and in between, I don't think that is impacting by these timelines. You know, like, we're not looking at accounts beyond what you're asking for in this motion. So, like, we're not looking at accounts, say, in 2024 something would have happened. We're looking during the timeline of what is reported. Is that correct?
Like, we don't know what we don't know, and what was reported came after, I think, deep research by the investigators, and I don't see what the material issue is by extending it to encapsulate should there be some issues that happen with 2024.
I don't see any issues with that. So can we say
Perfect.
then,
But 2024 is not finished yet? So
Yeah,
people
20
haven't submitted their tax returns.
which comes in 2025, right? Our taxes come in 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's.
Fraud is really taking place is on the payouts, not the filing dates.
So would we be okay if we say, let's for now talk about these fiscal years, and then if there is something material that comes out from the witness testimony, and we've added more witnesses as opposed to taken away some, we can expand what the scope of the motion is.
I'm open to debate. but-
Yeah, I mean, I see both sides of the issue. I see what you're saying, Mr. Green. I see what you're seeing. I don't think yours is an unreasonable request, and I think Ms. Khalid's proposition that perhaps, in the course of the testimony, I mean, it'd be a very simple question to ask: Are we seeing this occur in the year of 2024? And if that's the case, then that may open it up for the committee to further investigate 2024 and expand the scope of this. So I think there's an easy solution here, Mr. Green, if once we get the witnesses in front of us, that we may be able to figure that out. Go
Mr.
ahead.
Broussard, I am happy to defer to your wisdom.
Okay, so why don't we leave it like it is, and then later on, if we need to, we can ask to move. Wait, merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Mr. Villemur, you have the floor. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've just received the amendment, and I agree with the discussions, but I would like to add Mr. André Larreau from the Université Laval, who communicated this to us.
So say.
That's not an amendment on the amendment. That is a sub-amendment.
To add the name to the list, André. Et je pense que ça c'est l'homme, Monsieur.
That is the person who sent the article? Yes.
Up. We're dealing with a sub-amendment right now that Mr. Villemur, are you on that or? Sure. Okay, so I'm going to.
Sorry, Chair.
Yeah.
Are we still on the amendment?
No,
or-
Mr. Villemur has proposed a sub-amendment to add a witness to the list. And so, again, I think that's a reasonable request. Huh? It's André Leroux, who is from the University of Laval, a tax expert, I assume. Ex-professor, tax expert. Tax professor, sorry. Did I say ex? Yeah. Okay, so I hope I don't have any objection to the sub-amendment. I don't see any. Okay, so I'm going to assume that we have consensus on the sub-amendment, correct? Okay, so that takes care of that. Now we're on the amendment as amended with the addition of Mr. Leroux's name, André Leroux. Mr. Caputo, your hand was up on the amendment as amended. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for indulging my my tardiness as I was speaking in the House. One of the things, and I apologize if this was addressed as I was sitting down, is in reference to the breaches between 2020 and 2023, and I am curious. How we've gone unreported in the losses of millions of dollars. I mean, that to me seems fairly trite. I'm not sure why we need to have an amendment to address it. In terms of the witnesses, they all sound fine to me. The witness that I believe was it Mr. Villemur just proposed another witness. I've always known him to be fairly straightforward and trust that the person he's putting forward will be an expert of assistance. So hopefully we can come to consensus. But I apologize again if these issues have already been addressed, but just want to make sure that those things were addressed. Thank you.
I mean, to be frank, if we strike, to be Caputo, if we strike have gone unreported and resulted in the loss of millions of dollars, I have no doubt during the course of this testimony that this information will come up. So one of the challenges when you deal with motions is sometimes there's too much information in the motion. But during the course of the testimony, I'm sure the issue of the loss of millions of dollars will be asked, and it will be answered, just how much. So, okay, so I appreciate that, Mr. Caputo. I'm on the amendment as amended. I don't see any other discussion on this. So on the amendment, do we have consensus on that? Yep. Okay. Right? We're good? Okay. So we do have that. And then the last part, now we're on the main motion as amended twice. I don't see any discussion further on that. Do we have consensus on the motion as amended?
Just one moment, please, here, Mr. Chair.
Go.
I see that Mr. Barrett isn't here, so I want to ensure that that we would get his input.
We're in a process of debating this, so and I have quorum, so I'm going to continue. We're on the main motion as amended twice. I don't see any. Do you want a recorded division then? Okay. We're going to have a recorded division on the main motion as amended twice, and I'm going to call on the clerk to do that now. Go ahead, Mr. Clerk.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, got it. So on the amendment as amended, Mr. Fisher? Madam Khalid?
Yes.
Mr. Housefather?
Yes.
Madam Shanahan?
Yes.
Mr. Baines?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Mr. Caputo?
Yes.
Mr. Cooper? Yes. Monsieur Villemur?
En faveur.
Mr. Green? Yes. Yeas 11, nays no.
Okay, so the motion as amended twice carries. Thank you. Okay, so just I just want to update the committee too in terms of scheduling. On the 4th, we've got the Information Commissioner and the Lobbying Commissioner scheduled to come before us to ask questions about their reappointment. It's a statutory requirement, I believe. So that's why we're having them here on the 4th. So we will try to get witnesses here on the 6th of November to commence this study. And I'll leave that to the clerk and the analyst to attempt to do that. So, okay? Hang on a sec. Okay, so the clerk was just asking me about the recorded vote. That was on the main motion as amended because we had already had consensus on the amendment as amended. So, Mr. Barrett, you have the floor, sir. Go ahead.
Could I ask for a brief suspension, Chair, to maybe expedite the proceedings?
Okay, Mr. Barrett has asked for a suspension. I'm going to grant that. Well, I'm gonna grant the suspension. You'll find maybe you'll find out what it's about. Suspend.
Come on, you're a
back, everyone. When we last left our heroes, Mr. Barrett had the floor. And Mr. Barrett, you have the floor.
I'll yield the floor back.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Ms. Khalid, go ahead, please. Ms. Khalid.
Thank you very much, Chair. Over the course of the year, we had spent a significant amount of time studying social media and its impacts on Canadians. And we had gotten to the point where a draft report was drafted. And I would like to move that we resume the study, basically to complete the report and to table it in the House.
That motion was put on notice. Every member should have received that. The motion has been moved by Ms. Khalid. Any discussion on the motion? Yeah, the analyst, Ms. Khalid, the analyst does have a question, though,
Yes.
on the motion. Go ahead.
So as you will recall, we had actually started the consideration, and so I just wanted to ask if you wanted a V2 with some of the changes that were already made to be distributed as part of. Okay.
Yes, please. I think a V2, just so that everybody can have a refresher as to where we're at with the study. That would be great.
Thank you for asking that question. Go ahead.
I do have another motion to move once we've dealt with this one, if that's okay.
So on this particular motion, do we have consensus on this? Okay, I see that we do. And go ahead, Ms. Khalid, you still have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will say before I move this other motion that I am just so pleased with how amazing things are working today. I just want to say thank you to all of our colleagues for their amazing work on this committee. Always, I know that their hearts are in the right place, even if their mouths are not. But I do have a notice of motion. I want to move this motion as we are in committee business. Given that there are concerns with transparency around the pricing of delivery services such as Uber, Lyft, Skip the Dishes, DoorDash, and other companies providing similar services, including concerns about surcharges and service fees charged to customers, the safety and privacy of Canadians' personal data collected by them, and there are questions about whether delivery personnel who are gig workers have equitable changes that pursuant to Standing Order 1083H, the Standing Committee on Access to Information, Privacy and Ethics undertake a study on the impacts of these companies' operations in Canada, including transparency around these companies' pricing structure, including surcharges and fees, privacy and security of Canadians' personal data collected by delivery services, and C, transparency and around support for gig workers and their retention of any profits made, and that the committee report its findings and recommendations to the House.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Khalid. The motion has been duly moved. Any comments on the motion? It doesn't say, and that was one of my questions, and I'm glad you brought that up. So there's no timeline on this motion. Do we want up to 3 studies on it, or 3 meetings? Yes, 3 meetings.
If I may speak to that, Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was thinking more, once we have a witness list put together from all parties, that we would be better able to gauge how many meetings, how much interest, et cetera, on this study there would be from everybody.
Okay. We can certainly do it that way. My preference is similar to what we've done in the past, that we put a timeline on it, up to 3 meetings, and then if there's any desire of the committee to go beyond the 3-meeting scope, then we can certainly move in a motion to extend the study, and we can base that on not just the number of witnesses, but also the information that we're receiving. Okay, so that's my preference, and
I take your discretion, Chair.
okay. So, Mr. Barrett.
If I won't move an amendment to that effect if that finds general consensus that we have 3, that it's for 3 meetings. I think that the motion seems fine.
Okay, so I'm going to look for consensus on this. I'm not going to look for some big debate on it. typically we've started at 3. If we need to extend, we can do that. So do we have consensus on 3, adding that to, okay, I see consensus. You clear on that, Mr. Clerk? Okay, so any other comments on the motion? I see none. Do we have consensus to agree to this motion?
In exchange for future consideration.
Yeah. I appreciate that comment, Mr. Barrett. Someday, when I write my book, maybe somebody will understand what that meant. So, people that read it. Yeah, maybe I'll go on your Facebook page with 1,000 followers. You seem to have a lot of success with that. Okay, so we've got the motion has been approved on consensus. Thank you. I don't have.
No.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me, Monsieur Villemot. Oh no, consensus. No.
No? Apologies, go ahead. You had a comment on the motion? Sorry, I hadn't seen your hand raised. It's my fault. This motion is relevant, but I think it goes beyond the scope of our committee. It doesn't meet our usual work, and because of all of the things that we have to do right now, I believe that this motion should not carry. Thank you, Monsieur Villemot. I've read the motion. We talk about Canadians' privacy and personal data, and I believe that it is within the committee's purview, and that's why I would approve the motion. But thank you for your comments.
Consensus on this, so I'm going to ask the clerk. I don't see any other discussion. I'm going to ask the clerk for a recorded vote on this motion, please. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. So I go. So on Madame Khalid's motion, Mr. Fisher. Yes. Madame Khalid.
Yes.
Monsieur Osfather.
Oui.
Madame Shanahan.
Oui.
Mr. Baines.
Oui.
Mr. Barrett.
Oui.
Mr. Caputo.
Yes.
Sorry. Mr. Cooper.
Yes.
Monsieur Villemur. Mr. Green.
Oui. Je vote pour la motion. Merci. A little bit.
Motion carries 10-1. I don't have any other business in front of me. I will tell the committee again that Thursday, we're in a bit of that transition period. So I just talked to the analysts. I'm hoping that perhaps we can get the study in front of the committee so that we can do it for consideration in camera on Thursday. And then next Tuesday, we've got the information and the lobbying commissioner coming before the committee, and then I'm going to try to get witnesses on on the motion that was passed by Mr. Green for the 6th of November. So hopefully that sets up for the next 3 days, next week and a half. Not having any other business, this meeting is adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.